Hello! I am live. We are live, assuming that there are people here. Is there anybody here? If so, type something in the Q&A just so that I know you're here. This is my first time using Google Hangouts, so I'm figuring it out as I go, but it seems pretty intuitive, so I don't think I'm going to have any problems. Let's see. Okay, I don't see any questions. Ooh, there's a cameraman. Let's play with this for a second. Let's join him on the broadcast. Okay. Can everybody hear me? Or anybody hear me? Oh, there's nobody here yet. Okay. I will wait until guests arrive to the party. If you are here, oh, somebody said I'm here. Okay, awesome. Yay! There's a person here. Jasmine's here. Awesome. Okay. Can you hear me and see me? Just say yes or no if I just want to make sure it's working. Okay. People can hear me and see me, right? Hooray! It's working! Okay, that was my evil laugh, just in case you were wondering. I'm going to go ahead and get started because there's a few people here. I got it, Jess. You're here, and I'm really glad you're here. I'm excited. Sally's here as well. And a couple other people are joining. Yay! People are coming. This is so cool. Oh my gosh, you guys. I might be addicted to Google Hangouts. We'll see. Awesome. So let's do this. Let's have a conversation about the creative process, whatever that means. I want to start by thanking you guys for being here. I'm obviously excited to talk about this topic and just to be in this virtual space with you guys. So far, it's ladies only, and you know I love my ladies, so I'm happy about that. And also, just so you know, some of you guys know about this because you're my friends, but just ignore or be aware that I got a little too creative with my knife the other night when I was cooking and cut myself, so that's what this is about. This is not a fashion statement. I would prefer for this not to go with my outfit, but that's just kind of what it has to be right now. So, if anybody has any burning questions they want to ask, go ahead and type them in the chat room, or, yeah, I think that's probably the best thing. If you have a question, just go ahead and type it in. While questions are coming in, what I'm going to do is I had a couple of things I wanted to read, a couple of things actually from my newsletter that just went out, this past newsletter that I just sent out today. So in it I say, sometimes my creativity is exhausting, relentless, exciting, impatient. It's tight throat, quick pacing heart, white knuckles. Sometimes it's a warm embrace, a tender kiss. It's soaring flight. But the thing I know for sure is that it is always, always with me, and so is yours. So pull that out of my butt. I don't know what I was going to say in this newsletter, but I came up with something. Thanks, Jazz. Yeah, this, she says, sort of looks like a fashion statement, part of the creative process. Not really. I mean, I kind of tried to make it look fashionable and creative, like a little bit like Janet Jackson, how she used to wear her glove and everything. So it doesn't look terrible. But anyway, the other thing I wanted to read is this little thing that I wrote in my newsletter also. Everything, whether it be surgery or cooking or botany, starts with an idea, and ideas are born from our creativity. So I read those two things just to get to this idea that creativity, everybody has it, that it's important, that it matters, that in a sense it's what keeps the world turning, and all of our brilliance comes from our creativity. Our creativity gives birth to all of the ideas and beautiful things that we see in the world. And that's why I think it's an important topic to preach and try to figure out, how to break it down. So that is that. Let me just check here and see if we have any questions. Hi, Anna. I'm so happy you're here. Let's see. Okay, no questions so far. Uh-oh, looks like we lost somebody. Maybe they'll come back. All right, no problem. No questions? I gotcha. So let me start. I'm reading, I haven't quite finished it yet, but I'm currently reading a book by the famous choreographer and ballet dancer Twyla Tharp, and it's called The Creative Habit. So I've been reading that, and partly in preparation for this. Hey! Yay! I'm just saying hi to Anna. So happy I'm here, and so happy you're here too. This is amazing. Anyway, so I'm reading this book by Twyla Tharp called The Creative Habit, which I recommend to all of you. I think everybody's really big on the artist's way for the most part. At least, I hear a lot of actors and singers and other artists talking about the artist's way. And to me, The Creative Habit is above the artist's way in terms of what I've gotten from the book practically, and how to apply some of the things that Twyla's done throughout her career to my own career. And I bring up the book because one of the things that she talks about in the book that she does when she's working on a project is that she will, whatever the theme of her project is, she'll look up that word in the dictionary, which I love because I'm a nerd. I have a degree in English, and I like words. So I thought that we would start today by taking a looky in the American Heritage Dictionary at a few words about creativity. So let's start with the word create. So according to American Heritage, which isn't my favorite dictionary, but we'll just go with it because it was on my shelf. To create, to cause to exist, to bring into being, to give rise to, produce, to invest with an office or title, to appoint, to produce through artistic or imaginative effort. So that is the word create. And the word creation is the act of creating, the fact or process of being created, the act of investing with an office or title, the world and all things in it, which I love. I love that one. All creatures, or a class of creatures, an original product of human invention or artistic imagination, a new and usually specially designed garment. And then I'll just read the definition of creative. Having the ability or power to create, which we all do. Oh, Sally says, I love that. I look up the words that interest me when I'm considering a new project or theme. I thought I was just being a weirdo nerd. No, you're being a brilliant person. And actually, one of the other things that Twyla says in her book is that she also looks up the word right before the word that she's focusing on and the word right after, even if it seems unrelated. As she says in the book, you know, you never know what you'll find, which I thought was amazing, because right underneath the word creator in this dictionary is the word creature, which I think is amazing. Oh, okay, here's a question from Jasmine. What do you do when you're not feeling creative? Ideas aren't coming to mind and you feel stuck. That's a really good question. That happens to me all the time. And something that I've come to learn very recently about my creative process is that being frustrated and being stuck is actually just as much a part of the process as when things are flowing and you're feeling good and, you know, you've got everything together. So I actually wrote down, here we go, on my phone. I keep notes on my phone. And I actually wrote down I don't know if you guys know this app, Evernote, but it's fantastic. So I've been using that to keep my notes on. And the name of this note PS is how to stop being creatively stalled. So I hope it answers your question, Jasmine. All I did was just make a list of things that I can do when I feel creatively stalled. And this is for me personally, but hopefully you'll get something else out of it. Observe the shame spiral is the first thing I wrote. I actually wrote shit spiral, but I didn't really want to swear, but whatever. So observe the shit spiral that I'm in, which happens when I feel stuck. I feel like it's my fault. I feel a lot of shame. I feel like, you know, I should be able to think of something if I really want to work on, let's say it's my newsletter. Let's say I'm trying to write a blog post and I'm like, you know, I just can't think of anything to say. Then I start feeling really ashamed, which only makes me not want to do it. And then, you know, 2 weeks have passed and I still haven't done what I said I was going to do, which only makes me feel worse. The first thing I do is observe that that's where I am with things. Like, all right, I'm in the shame spiral. Okay, then I wrote, get out of my apartment. Get out of your apartment. Usually it just helps me to be out around people. And these are all really small steps that everybody can do. Maybe you're trying to come up with a project at work, you know, that you're in charge of and you can't think of anything. Leave your desk and go just walk outside. I also wrote, make eye contact with someone. So when I leave the house, I have to make a point to look someone else in the eye, because usually that snaps me out of whatever story it is that I'm telling myself in my own head. So those are a few, and I'll share some more later as well. I also wrote, take a nap. Start writing whatever. Go to the park. Those are a few. And if you guys have some that you do when you're feeling stuck, please put them in the chat room. I hope those were helpful, Jazz. And then there's some other ones that I will share as we're going on. I just want to make sure I get to some of these other questions. So here's one from Sally. I've been wondering lately what folks do to get back into their creative flow. Does it generally help you more to do something else creative? If you're a writer, you dance, or something else entirely, running, yoga, meditating, etc. Yeah, I think it really depends. Um, for me, ideas come all the time. Oh, Allison is sharing, yes. I know that inspiration comes at random moments, like for me when I'm in the shower. Me too in the shower. There's something about water. Actually, I do that a lot, and when I'm feeling stuck, I take a shower. Even if I've already had a shower, I will get back in the shower. Uh, does it generally help? Oh, yes. So back to Sally's question. Does it generally help me more personally to do something creative? If I'm a writer, I dance. It generally does. It just helps me at first to recognize that, like, shit ain't flowing. That's the first thing I have to do is recognize, okay, I'm feeling stuck. There's something's not working right now. Uh, what I had been doing the past couple of months when I was feeling that way is I would just pick up my journal and just start writing. I've written X's and O's and, blah, 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 but just something, picking up the pen and just writing something, and it helps me to actually write my frustrations down. That's what I've been doing the past couple of months. But actually, just this past weekend, dance became another thing that I started to do. Like yesterday, I was feeling pretty just out of myself. Not really, I was really in my head. I was really kind of down. And so I went to a dance class last night, and it changed my whole day going to that class. And, I felt completely different having just moved my body. So I really think if you have to be aware of what works for you and also trying different things from time to time. If you feel like, I know I'm in this stuck place and things ain't flowing, but I don't want to write, then try dancing or try something totally different like running. I say to all of this that the best thing to do is to constantly check in and really listen to whatever your intuition is telling you to do. And it may seem completely, totally ridiculous or unrelated, but there's a reason why that is coming up. So it may be telling you to go for a run and you've never been running. It may tell you take the train all the way to the end of the line and just get out. And you might be thinking like, why? I don't want to do that. But I think really listening to your intuition is a good way also to find your creative flow again. So yeah, thank you, Sally, for that question. And thank you, Allison, for sharing where some of your inspiration comes from. I really like the word inspire, which I'm pretty sure it comes from spirar, which is to breathe. So it's the idea of putting breath into something. And sometimes that happens just by walking away from something and letting it breathe, whatever your project is that you're working on. Maybe you're trying to launch a product, or in my case, working on my single, Back to Me, which is taking much longer than I want it to take. I have been stepping away from it and working on other things. And I know that when the timing is right for it, it'll be ready. So please keep your questions coming, guys. I'm really loving the questions and loving everybody being here. Ask anything you like. We can go deep if you want to. You don't have to. I'm just saying. You can. So as we're waiting for that, I also want to share back to my nerd book, the dictionary, I want to share the definition of process as well, since we're talking about the creative process, right? And I'm actually not a super huge fan of the word process. It gets used a lot. Actors, I think, way overuse the word process. It's like, I have to really understand my process, my process, and it's gotten to a point where I don't really know what people are saying when they use the word. I don't know if anybody else feels that way. Raise your hand if you do. You can type in raising my hand or something. So I'm going to read the definition just to take us back to the foundation of what is this? What is process, right? Process. A system of operations in the production of something. 2. A series of actions, changes, or functions that bring about an end or result. 3. Course or passage of time. 4. Ongoing movement, progression. 5 is, I'll just read it, it's a legal definition of process. A summons or writ ordering a defendant to appear in court. The total quantity of summons or writs issued by a particular proceeding. The entire course of a judicial proceeding. And then here's a biological definition. Bio. A part extending or projecting from an organ or organism. Appendage. So these are all definitions of process. This is fascinating, guys. As I said, I hear this word process all the time. I really not always sure what people are saying, but from this, what I'm getting is that a system of operations in the production of something is the first definition. So it's the system which brings forth the something, right? That makes sense. And as well as the second one, a series of actions, changes, or functions that brings about an end result. So yes, Sally, I'm a fan of the ongoing movement definition, is what Sally said, and I totally agree. I think that it's important to think about process, or at least to plant the idea in our minds that process is about moving forward. It's about constantly moving through something. It's not necessarily always forward, let me take that back, but it's always moving. This idea of constant movement. I like that for process. When you put those two together then, creativity and process, I think that we can find creativity, in the word creativity, we're dealing with inspiration, right? We're dealing with ideas and how to draw our ideas from our higher power or from our environment, whatever it is that you believe in to draw upon. And then with process, we have this idea of the discipline that it takes to move something into existence. I think that that's really what I'm getting from this. Also, here's another definition here, process, to move along in or as if in procession. So I think this is talking about actual movement, right? Like a procession, a funeral procession or something like that. But again, it's about movement, which means to me that process is about staying dedicated to your creativity. And actually, Twyla Tharp talks about that in her book, Creative Habit, which I'm reading right now, about this whole idea that, creativity is this frou-frou thing that just happens. She kind of calls BS on that, and she says, it's work. It's about the discipline. It's, as the name of the book is, the creative habit, right? It's an actual skill that you can develop. And I think often I hear people who call themselves creative say, use it sort of as an excuse as to why they haven't been able to do anything. It's like, well, I'm creative, you know, so I just do what I feel, and somehow nothing gets done. Um, and so I think it's important to bring this idea into the room as well, this idea of discipline, right? So Sally has another question. Do you buy into the idea of muses? If so, what is or are yours? Mm-hmm. I I know that the writer Elizabeth Gilbert, who wrote Eat, Pray, Love, talks about the idea of muses, and she talks about this idea that everyone has a muse that's sort of always around you and is waiting for you to listen and sort of whispers to you, and then whatever it speaks, you know, that's what you're supposed to make, to bring into form. And I think that that's beautiful. So I guess I do buy into the idea of muses. I think it's a little dangerous for me, at least right now, to play with the idea in my head that my creativity is separate from me. So I guess I would say that I like the idea of muses. I think muse for me is something that's within me. I just think anything that's like outside of me, it gets tricky for me to always feel connected to that. But I think that one thing I can always come back to is that, you know, in this body there is a soul that wants to express itself, and I guess the soul and the muse to me are kind of the same. But I would love to hear what you guys think about muses, or where this idea of muses comes from. It's obviously been with us for thousands of years, and probably was I don't know the popularity of talking about muses necessarily today, but certainly people do talk about it. So I would love to know what you guys think too of the idea of muses, and or just where creativity comes from. What is the source of this thing that we often have trouble pinning down and identifying? I mean, maybe if we can figure out what the source is, we can figure out how to use it more often. Am I missing any questions? Oh, here's one from Jasmine. What about involving others in your creative process? Involving others in your creativity, even if they don't share your vision, maybe? I can't see the rest of the question. Oh, let's see. Oh, cool. I can actually click on the question, answer it, and then when I'm done answering it, I wish I had discovered that earlier. Well, okay. Um, oh, okay. I'll come back to your question, Jazz, when you're ready. That's cool. Let's take a moment. Let me take a moment to delete some of these questions that we've answered, so I can actually see the ones that I haven't gotten to. That would be great, wouldn't it? While I'm doing this, I just want to thank you guys again so much for being here. I'm really, really excited to be doing this. It's really fun. Already thinking about the next one. Okay. All right, that's good. All right. Well, while I'm waiting for more questions, maybe we can do some speculating on where creativity comes from. I have no problem saying that I believe in a higher power, and I believe in a creator, capital C. So, so for me, I believe that our ultimate purpose is to um, use ourselves and our lives to bring into the world what it is that our creator has given us, a specific, and we each have a very specific, set, a map that is imprinted in our souls or on our souls, to bring into the world from the creator, capital C. So that's sort of what I think about where creativity comes from. And I think that ultimately the best creativity, that's why it's so, people are so struck by it, whether it be painting or a crazy recipe that nobody's thought of that is so delicious that people can't believe it, and they travel from all over the world to taste the food, or whether it be, a Pulitzer Prize winning novel, or someone winning the Nobel Peace Prize because they thought of a way to solve conflict. Whatever it is, it comes from that source. That's what I think. Okay, so here's a question from Sally, or a comment from Sally. I've been reading into muses and the muses a lot because I started researching the three graces. I don't know what that is. I used to think it was sort of BS, but I like Elizabeth Gilbert's definition as well. I've been feeling into it, and I like the idea of a voice within me, but not me. By detaching it from myself, I don't beat myself up when things aren't flowing, but I talk to her or them. Yes, right, exactly. So I think that the idea of muses, or, the soul, whatever, some other source than us, is really useful because it helps you get past all the ego stuff. If you're basically communicating with this thing to try to make something, to try to actually bring something that did not exist into existence, and it's not you, then it doesn't have to be about you, and you can let go of all of your, what are people going to think of me, and I can't do that because I just don't have the blah blah blah. All of the excuses start to disappear, all of the insecurities, all of that stuff, I think, is easier to work through when you think of it as yourself being in service to your muse, or to your source, or to whatever it is, or at least, even if you don't want to get that spiritual about it, it can at least just be like you're being in service to the work. So if you are a designer, a fashion designer, and you want to create a new line so that you can sell it to Barney's, you can make some money, then you have to put all of your stuff aside so that the work actually happens, so that the work gets done. And this also goes back to this idea of discipline, right? That it's important to be disciplined in order to actually make our creations real and tangible. I'll be honest with you guys, I was in that place for a long time of things, of labeling myself creative and using that to sort of, as a reason why I wasn't able to make the things I wanted to make. And I just kind of woke up one day to this idea that it really is about showing up. And I don't, some days I show up for me, some days I don't have it in me to show up for me because I'm feeling really down on myself or whatever. So some days I show up, for my family, or some days I show up for the work, because I know that I love doing what I do. Some days I show up, for humanity. Some days I show up for my grandmother. I mean, just, but showing up is the important thing, which means, really committing to if you're a writer, writing every day, or if, whatever it is. I mean, I'm a writer and I don't write every day, but we can talk about that later. We still have time. Sally says, the three graces are fascinating, but hard to find info on. Yeah, I don't know about the three graces. They were the goddesses of charm, beauty, nature, creativity, and fertility. Each sister influences a different area of pleasure and enjoyment. Well, no wonder they're hard to find information on, because you know how we are with silencing women's pleasure and enjoyment, right? Don't get me on my soapbox. That's fascinating. The goddesses of charm. Yeah. The goddesses of charm, beauty, nature, creativity, and fertility. It's interesting because, and this is something that's been coming up a lot in my research around creativity, that essentially the area of the body that's associated with creativity is the womb. Or, in men it's the same area, it's the pelvis, the sexual organs. So that makes a lot of sense when you think about it. The ultimate creation is human life, as far as we humans are concerned, right? So I'm really interested in this idea of a book being birthed into the world being as important to particularly women as giving birth to an actual child. I'm obviously not saying that books and children are the same. I'm not trying to say that, but what I am saying is that this idea that creativity and fertility are associated with the same area of the body, I think, is worth exploring. And that sometimes, if you're feeling creatively stuck, the best thing to do is to pursue pleasure, just pure pleasure for yourself, because that frees you and it opens your world to new ideas that you may not have been open to before. Yeah, so thank you. Thank you so much, Sally, for sharing that. I'm definitely going to look up the three graces myself. I heard Elizabeth Gilbert's talk, TED Talk that she did about creativity, and that's where I first heard about the muses, or her idea of the muse. So it's good stuff. Keep the questions coming, y'all. This is good. Yes, 2 snap. Jasmine, if you want to re-ask your question, you definitely can. But I think it was essentially covering the topic of collaboration, which is something that we should talk about. I have a lot to say about collaboration. Creativity, or I will say collaboration, is pretty much an inevitable component to creativity. No matter what it is that you're working on, even if it's, trust me, I've tried to find like the one creative thing that I can do that doesn't involve other people. And the reason for that is I really like getting things done, and sometimes it's really frustrating to have to depend on other people. Raise your hand if you are with me on that. Okay, you can mull. You got time to mull. We still have 20 minutes remaining, so we're good. So collaboration. This is really difficult for me. Wouldn't necessarily think so, because I am an actor, and particularly a theatrical actor. I haven't done a lot of TV and film work before, which is, from what I know about it and what have experienced, is less collaborative. So the fact that I actually do more theater and I have to work all the time with people, you wouldn't think that collaboration is tough for me, but it is. And if it's tough for any of you, I'd love to hear why. The reason it's tough for me is that I like to be in charge, which is why I started to create my own projects, like this music video that I'm doing for Back to Me this summer. I like to be in charge. I don't like to be told what to do. And I don't necessarily believe in the idea that there are no stupid questions or ideas. Probably not a good thing to say in a Q&A, so please don't be afraid to ask a question. But collaboration is something that, for me, I'm learning more and more to open up to and to feel better about. It's inevitable, whatever it is that you're doing. I thought that, oh, maybe if I write, I can, I don't have to work with anybody. And that's sort of true. I mean, writing is a more singular art form, but you still have to have somebody to edit your writing. Somebody eventually has to read it and look at it, and it's going to, at some point, reach another human being. I mean, that's why you're doing it, I hope. So there's going to be a point in every process that requires collaboration. So yeah, I think that the thing I'm learning the most right now about collaboration, particularly in my first time being the leader of my own project, which is the music video for Back to Me, I'm in charge, right? And then I have a costume designer and a producer who's also co-directing with me. But it's my vision, and so what I'm learning is how much collaboration really helps with clarity in a creative process. So I've had to get really clear for myself and really specific for myself about what I want. And I've learned how clear things can be in my mind, and I still can't express them in a way that, that necessarily makes sense to people. So that can be very frustrating. But it's one of the things that I'm learning to really love and appreciate about collaboration is that I have to be really specific and clear about my vision and what I want. And I can carry that into all aspects of my art. I can carry that into my music. I can carry that into my acting. That the more specific you can be about what it is that you're trying to do and what it is that you are thinking, or that's being born in you and bringing that out, and you can be really clear about that with people, it just makes it all the more brilliant. I mean, I think it's that way for any art form, really. You guys think of a creative endeavor that does not involve another person? I would love to know. But I don't think that exists. Sculpting, I guess. You could be a sculptor, but then you have to have somebody to display your sculptures. So you have to have relationships with galleries or with people who want to buy your art. So that's also, to me, a form of collaboration. I don't know about y'all, but I don't do art just because I love it. I want to make money doing it. So, yeah. Collaborate. It's good. What else? Let me look at my notes here. Oh, so let me share just, if you guys have any questions. Oh, a dance routine. Do you need to collaborate with someone? Well, you can create a dance routine. I guess if it's a solo routine, that's true. You don't necessarily have to collaborate with someone. But eventually there's a collaboration with your audience, in a sense, because, or, I mean, well, let's think about this. Graffiti? Huh. A dance routine, graffiti. Huh. Well, maybe graffiti. I mean, I don't know a lot of graffiti artists that make money, but I suppose it depends on how you view audience, I think. Because if you view audience as a collaborator, which, I mean, for me, coming from a theater background, I'm in a performance background where I'm always in front of people, my job isn't really done until I've presented it to an audience. And that live energy that's exchanged back and forth is, to me, a form of collaboration, which I think exists with a dance routine. Even if you're just making something up and then putting it on YouTube, it's going to have an audience. You don't have to care what they think of it, I suppose, but I guess I still think of it as a collaboration. And graffiti, I mean, people do see it, but you never know that they see it, necessarily. So I guess graffiti could be one that, I mean, it certainly doesn't require collaboration to create graffiti. And it doesn't require collaboration to create dance either. Or a recipe, or, I mean, there's a lot of things that you can do that are singular, but eventually everything that we do creatively is going to be shared, I think. Unless that's not the purpose of your creativity, and for some people it's not. And that's totally cool. I think we're all creative, whether it's your job to be creative or not. And actually I was going to share a couple of things, because I wanted to say this, and I wanted to make sure I said this, that everybody is creative. I have heard over and over again, oh, I'm not a creative person, I'm not creative. And I'm so interested in creative people. And I always wonder what they're talking about. People who say that they're not creative, because everyone is creative on some level. You can't really exist without being creative. So I just wrote down a couple of mundane ways in which we use creativity. We use our creativity to put our outfits together in the morning. We use our creativity to make dinner. We use our creativity to figure out how to break up with someone. We use our creativity to create our Facebook status and curate our online presence. Hello? So I think that we need to expand our idea of what it means to be creative. I think that it'll be really useful for everyone if we started to all think of ourselves as creative people. If we did, I mean, we could probably think of many solutions to problems that seem really insurmountable that are not at all, if we just think of ourselves as creative and finding new ways to view things. So that's my little soapbox about that. I also wrote, creativity is the source of the new economy, which I do think is true. We all know, recession and the old sort of way of doing things is falling away. There will always be brick and mortar businesses, I think, but we have more and more people who are turning to alternative careers and creating their own income through their passions and what they love to do, and starting their own businesses, and working from their computers, and all of that is as a result of ideas. which come from our creativity and our willingness to think in new ways and think outside of the box. So I think that that's really useful. Sally says, thanks for bringing this up, Jillian. I constantly talk to people about their authentic expression as their creativity. Fashion, style, food, guilty pleasures, etc. Exactly. So your authentic expression is exactly that. It is your creativity. That's what it is. So I love that, actually, as a definition of creativity. A person's authentic expression. We use it every day. And actually, I'm going to share one of the other ways that I get out of my creative blocks when I feel blocked is just like looking at, it could be something so silly, looking at my recent Facebook posts and being like, oh, it could be something that I shared that I found inspiring, or I go to my Tumblr page. I know everybody has Pinterest, but I'm with the 18-year-olds on Tumblr. So I sometimes will go to my Tumblr page and just look at things that I've collected, and then like, oh wow, that's a really interesting photo. That's actually where the initial inspiration for my music video came from, was my Tumblr page. I was scrolling through it and I was like, wow, I'd forgotten that I put this photo there, and it's this photo of this woman who she did like a series of photos for her mother when her mother passed away from breast cancer. They're all different photos of women photographed in these fantasy settings, and it gave me the idea for, what if I do a video with these different fantasy women, which then led me to pick up the phone and call a costume designer friend of mine and ask her, hey, I think I have this idea. I think I want to do this video. And before I knew it, I was making a music video and putting a team together just from my Tumblr page. So thanks, Tumblr. But yeah, I mean, we're all creative. So stop saying you're not creative. You are. Inspiration can come from anywhere at any time, which is why it's important to, like, if you carry your phone around, which all of us do, have something, use your notes or use Evernote or something. I carry a notebook everywhere. I use voice memos. I share, I reblog, I star things on Twitter that I like, because it may be years before that thing will mean anything to me, but it's there. I've noted it. And I move on with my life, and I spend time with my friends, and I, hang out with my family, and all of that stuff. But you just never know when you're going to want to use those things that you have collected that are an expression, an authentic expression of you. So I love that, Sally. Thank you. Amazeballs. We have about 5 minutes remaining, everybody. So this has been amazing and fantastic, and I would love to hear any last burning questions. They can be unrelated, they can be totally related, or any comments. Obviously, comments are awesome. So any of that stuff. I waited until 5 minutes left to take a sip of water. So happy. So happy right now. This is awesome. Well, yeah, you don't have to come up with a question if you don't have one, but if you would like to, you totally can. Does anybody have any specific questions about my projects that I'm working on, or what's going on with me. I want to take a moment to say that Sally in our chat room is an amazing writer herself and a singer as well. And she's going to be taking people on a writing retreat in Paris this fall. So you should go to sallymercedes.com and check her out. It's amazing. I really want to go. I don't think I'm going to be able to, but I really want to, and I certainly will be on one of her retreats at some point. So, okay, good question. Yes, Allison. Do you have any other apps that people can use to help spark creativity? Let me see. Evernote is amazing. I really recommend that because you can take photos with it. You can make little notes. You can have different notebooks, and it keeps keeps a map of everywhere you are when you make notes. Other apps. I mean, other apps that I have on my phone are like. I use Instagram actually a lot for inspiration. But mostly for like hairstyles. So that's to spark creativity. I don't think so. I mean, obviously there are apps for you to keep track of your ideas. Other ones besides Evernote I know about, but I don't have any of those, and I can't think of their names off the top of my head. But if I do, I'll let you know. Does anybody else have any? Sally, do you have any? Or Jasmine? Or Anna? Does anybody else have any apps that they use to spark creativity? Yeah, my phone's pretty boring. I have an app for keeping track of my money. I have HopStop, Instagram, Twitter, Audible to listen to audiobooks. That helps me spark my creativity, listening to audiobooks. I realize that, I should have gotten this earlier because I'm a musical person, but I'm really good with, hearing things, so I just started listening to audiobooks like 3 weeks ago. And I was like, why wasn't I doing this earlier? Books I highly recommend, definitely The Creative Habit, Allison, by Twyla Tharp. It's good for everybody to read. Twyla's a dancer, choreographer, but everything she has to say is amazing. And we're almost done, but I do want to show you guys something I bought. I bought this yesterday to spark my creativity. Boom! Check this out. It's a crate from a farm. And essentially I got this idea from Twyla's book. What she does is she has a box for every project, or basically every idea that she's ever thought of has a box. And she will put the name of the idea, or a sticky note or whatever in the box, and then as more inspiration comes to her, she'll place it in the box, and place it in the box, and place it in the box. And then she labels it with, the name of the initial theme or whatever it is that maybe she thinks of the title of, the dance in her case. And she puts it on there, and then when she's feeling stuck, she picks a box, and she goes through it. And I thought that was brilliant. So I went and got myself a crate from the farmer's market yesterday to start with. I just bought one. I don't have a big apartment, so I didn't have room for a bunch. So it is officially 9 p.m., which means we are done with our Q&A. This has been wonderful and amazing, and I'm really, really happy that I had the opportunity to be with you guys for this hour. And thank you so much for being here. I'm definitely going to do more of these, so if you have topics that you really want to cover, hit me up on Facebook or send me an email. I would certainly love, love, love to hear your thoughts on other things that we can do together. I'm going to be launching my new website really soon, so you guys will all hear information about that. And the video and the new single are coming out sometime this summer. Final thing that I heard that I hope is inspiring to you guys. This is something I heard at a conference over the weekend, and I thought it was perfect. The saying that I heard the speaker say, her name is Latham Thomas, is she said, sometimes it's not always when the time is right, it's when the time is ripe. R-I-P-E. And I thought that was really beautiful. So I think that's a really nice way to end our time together. And I'm really grateful, and I love you guys so much. Thank you for coming. Thanks for sharing your thoughts with us. Looking forward to the next one. Thank you, Jasmine. Thank you. Bye, guys. Have a good night.